Hi, this is Mrs. Williams. This is some help with hyperbolas from quiz 7.04. So the question here says, which is the graph of the hyperbola with the following equation? And here's the equation. So here's some general information that you want to know about hyperbolas. A horizontal hyperbola will follow this formula. And horizontal, we usually think of the x-axis, right? You have the y-axis is the vertical axis and the x-axis is the horizontal. So when you have a horizontal hyperbola, the x value is going to come first in that formula. With a vertical hyperbola, because we think of the vertical axis as the y-axis, your y part of the formula will come first. And so that's the main difference. And y and b, are always connected, and x and a are connected. So x and a, y, b. So those are definitely some things to note. And then also the center of a hyperbola is at the point HK. So that's the first thing we can do over here is we can find what is that center point going to be. First we know because this starts with x that it's going to be a horizontal hyperbola. What that means is that it just opens to the left and the right. A vertical hyperbola will open up and down. So we do know that it's going to be opening left and right, and that is shown here in the graph. The center point, what you do is you just take the opposite value here. So this value is positive 2. The x value of that center point is going to be a negative 2. The y value is going to be 5 because right here in the equation it's y minus 5. You just change that value to a positive 5. And so we can see, because this point is at negative 2, 0, we can see that each of these tick marks is going by a scale of 2. And then this point, the y value is 5. So indeed, this center point would match up with negative 2, 5. Okay. Now we want to move on to the a squared and b squared values. So in our problem, because this number is underneath x, we know that that's a squared. So a squared equals 4 and b squared equals 25. Change that. So a is 2, b is 5. And what those are the horizontal or vertical distances. So in other words, from your center point to your vertice, which is the point on your hyperbola itself, the distance there is going to have a distance of 2 or a distance of 5 depending on whether you're going up or down or left or right. So if we are going in the x direction, so from your center point either left or right, because those, again, horizontal we think is the x direction, that means this distance is going to be 2, going either to the left or to the right. From your center point is a distance of 2. And that does match up because the x value of our center point is negative 2. And if you go to this vertex over here, the x value is 0. And that is a difference of 2. From negative 2 to 0, the difference there is a distance of 2. And then from the center point to the vertice over here, the x value is negative 4. And again, that is a distance of 2. So that matches up. This graph matches up with that a value. The b value is the same idea but going up and down. So we have negative 2. If I go up 5, that's where my vertex is going to be. So if you look at the vertex right there, it is at the point negative 2, 10. So my y value, actually let's do y values here. So my y value of my center point is 0. If I go up 5, or excuse me, my y value of my center point is 5. Let's try that one more time. And so if I go up 5, my y value should be 10. And that's true about this y value. And then if I go down, I should be at 0 because this, again, these distances are 5 because my b value is 5. So this is just b, and these distances here are a. And again, that does make sense because my y value of this vertice down here is 0. Okay, and so that's how you can tell that option B is the right one. Okay, let's try a different one. This one we're going from the graph to the equation. So what we want to do is pick out all of those things that we need to plug into the equation. So the first thing that we need is the center point. So we want to say, what is the center of this hyperbola? Well, it's just where your asymptotes cross, which is right there. Now this graph's a little bit tricky because if you look carefully at the values of the points, each tick mark is going by 2's. So because this point right here has a y value of -1, that means that from the origin down to here is a distance of 1, and it's right in the middle of the origin and that tick mark. So this graph is actually going by 2. So this is -2, -4, -6, and +2, +4, +6, 8, 10, 12, and so on. So this value right here, because it's over a 2 and then in the middle, is going to have an x value of 3. And then it's down, it's even with this point, so the y value would be -1. So that's my center point. Then I want to see, okay, is this a vertical or horizontal hyperbola? So remember, if it's opening up and down, it's going to be vertical, which means that I'm going to start with my y value in the equation. So I'm going to have y minus my y value of my center point, which is -1. So y minus -1 squared, and then we'll have that over the b value squared in a second here once we figure that out. And then x minus 3 squared for the x part of the equation. And then I'll put a squared underneath here once I find that out, and then that equals 1. Okay, so we can kind of narrow the choices down already between C or D, just from knowing that information. And actually, we wouldn't even have to go any farther. We can see it's definitely going to be this one because C would not match that information. So we could even just tell from finding the center point if we have multiple choice. But let's keep going. Let's just say you didn't have multiple choice. Then what you'd want to do is find your A value and your B value. So remember, the A value is really just the distance from your center point to one of the vertices. So if you look at the x value of your center point and the x value of a vertice, that's a distance of 3. So my A value is 3, but remember in the equation you don't put in A, you put in A squared, and so I'd actually put 9 there. A squared is 9. Then for B, you find the distance up or down. So the amount there would be 4. So my B value is 4, and then I would square that and I'd have 16 there. And so you can see that that would match that equation there.